Lesson number 54 and the second lesson on the registration and login forms. We are learning JavaScript and we are learning JavaScript by examples. And this is what we created in our last video. We did not use any JavaScript. It was only CSS that we were learning about. And in this lesson, we'll continue to improve this form a little bit more only with the help of CSS. No JavaScript as yet, but we will hopefully use JavaScript in the next lesson or the lesson after, but we can still make quite a few changes. We can improve this form further quite a lot still with the help of CSS. We don't have to use JavaScript as yet, and I'll tell you what that means. Okay, so if I change the size of my browser, this is the code that I have written so far, and I've made an exact copy of it, and I have renamed it to 54-2 to represent 54th lesson of the series and the second lesson of the registration and login form. So I will right mouse click and I will open it with my text editor, and this is the code that we have written so far. Okay, the first thing that I need to do is to maybe fix this wording. Instead of saying registration, it should say register. Register. So if I save it, we have a better wording. If we want to be a professional web developer, I think it is time that we start using hex codes for the colors, because they give us a great variety of colors rather than being limited to a few number of colors. So hex colors are hexadecimal codes that you can use in your CSS to choose different shades of colors. So for example, if I Google and I say hexadecimal colors, there are a number of websites that can provide you with hexadecimal codes of the colors. For example, for this one, there is a rectangle and there is a slider, and I can choose any color, and then I can move this sort of button to any shade of this color, and then on the right hand side I have some values, and this is the code that we are after. Okay, so when you select a shade of a particular color, you can copy this code along with the hash symbol, and you can use that code in your CSS to represent that color. So I will close this. I will change the size of my browser. So for button, I have chosen a hexadecimal code which is hash 004165. So if I save it and if I refresh it, this is the color that I want for the button. The next thing that I want to do is to change the shape of the cursor. When I hover my mouse over the button, I want the shape of the cursor to something that is known as pointer, which looks like a hand. Okay, and for that I will use a button, a pseudo class button hover, and I will say cursor, and the name of the cursor is pointer. Okay, so if I save it and if I refresh it, you'll notice that when I move my cursor over this button, the shape of the cursor changes from arrow to this hand. Okay, this is known as pointer. I also want to change the color of the button when we hover over it. Okay, so I will say background color, and I will again use a hexadecimal code which is hash 0072AC. Save it and refresh it. When I move my cursor over the button, it changes its shape and it also changes its color. Okay, so that's a pretty cool effect. And I also want to change the size of the button when I click onto the button to give an impression that the button has been clicked. Okay, so I will use another pseudo class button active. Okay, when the button has been pressed, an opening curly bracket and a closing curly bracket, and I will say transform and I want to scale it down from 1 to maybe 0.95. If I save it now and refresh it, I will move my cursor over the button. The cursor will change the shape and the button will change the color, and when I click onto it, you'll notice that the button decreases in size a little bit. Okay, so this is the transformation, changing the size of the button, which gives an impression that the button has been pressed. Okay, and we can also change the color, background color to white, for example, and border 1 pixel solid, and I will use this hexadecimal code, copy and paste. And I also want to change the color of the font to again this color, copy and paste. So if I save it and if I refresh it, and when I click onto the button, it becomes white and the writing becomes blue. Okay, the button changes its size, which is exactly what we want. And you can use any combination of color. For example, if I just remove everything, and I can remove these things, and I can just change the color to green. Okay, a very drastic change. So if I save it and refresh it, when I move my cursor over the button, it changes its color, and when I click onto it, it becomes green. Okay, so this is it for today, and I'll see you in the next lesson. Thank you for watching.